Recording is on.
Okay, so sorry about the technical challenges that we had this morning. Yeah, so this is the NCIF mentorship program where we're focusing on tool two, the prototype refinement planning workshop. I'm Preston Kempfer, your technology mentor, and what we're going to be working on today is just we're gonna just go through how the session will run, set some ground rules first, and then we'll start. Right. What we'll do today is we'll work. With each innovator privately. You'll see the in the room we have break rooms for each innovator. If you completed tool one, the self assessment, then your break room will be listed in the session, and that's where we will have our private one-on-one sessions to basically discuss the planning, right? So that I know some of you guys don't want to share the ideas, especially your intellectual property. So that's the reason we then created the break rooms where we'll have our one-on-one sessions. I'll rotate 5 minutes between them, and then also what we'll do is we'll start looking at the three themes that I came across, the that I saw most of you guys have, and then we'll discuss that, and then we'll discuss generic frameworks as a group, and then yeah, so that's you'll have an option to share as well if you want to get input from other innovators, and let them give you feedback on your prototype. That's only if you want to. Yeah. So just in terms of what we don't won't do, protecting your intellectual property. There's no show and tell. We'll have that in a one-on-one session where we'll discuss that, and then we'll then look at there'll be no peer reviews unless you want that. So what we're doing is just keeping your idea private between me and you, and then the only things that we're going to submit is your signed canvas to NCIF as well, in terms of what we're planning to do. How the session will look like is we'll have about 2 hours 45 minutes with a 10-minute break. We'll have our private one-on-one sessions. Yeah, so this is how the program for today is looking like. Welcoming, and we go through the themes, the improvement planning canvas that I've shared on WhatsApp, as well as the priority matrix. And then we'll just have an open discussion on some frameworks like design thinking and such. Yeah, and then if anyone wants to share, they can share, and then we'll wrap up the session. So, what are we trying to achieve today? Right? One clear output per innovator must be submitted privately, meaning each innovator will sign the improvement canvas, and then share that with me, and that's then what we would then submit to NCIF. right? In plain terms, is what we're going to do is we're gonna pick one gap from what you've identified. Your top three gaps are in tool one, and then we'll write what better looks like for that specific gap, right? How what does better look like for that gap, and then we'll define the smallest useful steps that you can take this week on that gap, and then name what could be the blockers and how do we measure the success in terms of how do we know it will work, right? And then sign that, and then send me a WhatsApp photo, or you can complete the form and then send it to me. So that's basically what we're trying to do. Is you've already identified there's certain gaps, and what we're looking at is how do we now take that gap and work on that, right? So before we get there, there's three themes that I saw across the cohort, that all of us have have either still working on it or have started working on this three gaps as well. One is the user customer demand evidence, right? This is where we're trying to ask, is the real pull from the people who will use or buy this product, right? Is the users, is there customers, is there demand for this idea that you're coming up with? And that is number one. So this is one thing I've identified. Majority of you guys have either started with it, um, or majority of you are still just making assumptions and still need to get the evidence for the user or customer demand. So that is the number one challenge. Then number two would be the operational readiness at scale, right? Meaning, can you actually deliver the next volume without breaking? If you need to make 10 times more than your first prototype, how does that look like? Are you able to do that in terms of scaling, right? How does scaling look like for you as an innovator? And then number three would be measurement and credibility. So this is just looking at how credible is my idea, and do I have evidence to back that up? Is there some way where we can measure that? The question would be there, would an outsider believe your claim based on your numbers, right? So this is the three that we've identified. It's getting the user or the customer evidence, the demand evidence to say there is a demand for this product out there, right? Number two would be in terms of this product, we are able to scale it. So we we can make one, we can make 10, we can make 100, we can make 1,000 of this product, and we are able to sell it. We know how to do that without breaking anything, right? So it's looking into that as well. Then how do I sell my idea to investors, the customers? So how do I make it credible by having some kind of numbers that shows that we are successful. We have been able to measure our impact in these areas, in this problem that you're trying to solve, right? So that is is what we're looking at there. When it comes to theme one, evidence of users or customer demand across the cohort, what I've observed is that we have clever solutions, but there's no actual proof that there's customers or someone that's actually waiting for them, right? So so that is the one side. So here, what we've observed the pattern is the prototypes are built for an assumed need, right? So we make a bunch of assumptions, and then we build the prototypes around the assumptions we are making. Then we also saw that there's few direct conversations that you are actually having with the user or the buyer that can give you feedback on how to improve it, right? Because currently feedback is only internal. You are giving your own feedback. You're not getting feedback from the market, and that's what one of the challenges as well. Then so the question you want to be able to answer is, who has said they pay for this, right? And how much are they going to pay for it, right? So there's some questions you can ask yourself, like, who exactly is the user? What do you know about them? How many direct conversations have I had this month with my customer or my user, in terms of getting that feedback? And then what is the smallest one site, one user pilot that you can run to actually showcase that this thing will work, and you are able to get feedback from that smallest one site or one user pilot, and use that feedback to then improve your prototype and make it better. Another question would be, what would a buyer need to say to see to say yes, they will make a purchase from you or use your services, right? So what is that thing they would need to say yes to? And this is where we look at that diagram as well. You'll see when we get to it. High effort, low, what is it? Low demand, or high demand, low effort, right? So that's where we are able to task to measure these gaps into that made priority matrix. Yeah. Number two, theme number two, looking at your operational readiness. So what works at one does not always work at 10. So when you're making the one prototype, it does not necessarily mean it will be the same for making 10 devices that you're trying to sell. Yeah, so if we started looking into that, and here the pattern is, we look at the unit cost is unclear, um, at the next volume, right? So we don't know how much it cost us to build the one unit, and then we don't know how much it cost us to build 10 of them. So that is one thing. The manual steps that won't survive a 10 times increase, right? So what are those steps that won't survive when we need to scale, and how do we handle those? You We're looking at your supplier or field install, maintenance, logistics that are untested, right? And then it might work in the workshop, but not it not does not always work in the field, right? So that's one thing as well to note. While you're working there and building your prototype, it might work, but once you deploy it in production, then you'll actually see where it breaks, and where you need to fix. So there's some questions you can ask yourself here is what breaks first if I have to deliver 10 of these instead of one, right? Um, then you can also ask what's my true costs per unit at the next level, and what is it now? Which manual steps is my biggest bottlenecks? What will keep you behind um, when you need to scale? When you have 10 customers, is there bottlenecks that you've identified? And then also, what's the smallest change that cuts cost and time by 10%? So this is a key question you should always ask yourself is how can I cut costs and time by making small changes, right? And that's one key thing to remember in themes two, regarding the operational readiness at the next scale. Then, in terms of theme three, where we're looking at the measurement and credibility, this is where the funders, buyers, and partners, they don't buy claims; they buy numbers that they can trust, right? And this is what you already need to identify early on, so that you are able to put those M&E, monitoring and evaluation tools in place, so that you are able to get that details. So the pattern here that we recognize is performance claims without agreed upon metrics, right? So this is where you're selling your value proposition, but we don't have the data to back that up, and that's where you need to get to get data to back up your claims. The, Another thing is there's no documented baseline versus after, right? How did we start? How was it after? And that is what you want to look at as well. The measurement methodology and not third party defensible, right? It works is not a number, right? So you can tell your funder it works or the buyer it works, but they want numbers, right? That can impact their businesses. And the questions you would want to ask yourself here is what is the one number my off taker or funder wants, right? So it depends who you are approaching. Look at what do they want to actually see what the numbers in terms of numbers. Um, how is that numbers measured as well? By who's measuring them? What's your baseline before you actually do the intervention, so that you can see what impact you made before, what was the impact before and after you actually did your intervention. What is the smallest experiment that moves that number credibility from your side, in terms of you still just starting out, right? But what is that number that you can think of now already, so that we can start looking at how do we place that into our priorities? Yeah, and and that's some of the questions you can ask yourself there. So moving forward is there any questions on the three teams so far? The user or customer demand evidence, operational readiness at scale, measurement and credibility. So if not, then what we'll do is we'll move on to the improvement planning canvas, right? Um, what we'll do here is we'll we'll give each one some time to basically complete the improvement planning canvas. Yeah, so how do we fill out the improvement planning canvas? This is out from 8 steps. We'll identify the gap, which gap from tool one, the top three are you tackling? The improvement, what does better looks like, in one sentence for that gap that you've identified, and then why is this the right priority? What tells you so? Like, why would we want to do that one? That gap. Who is involved? Users, suppliers, partners. Who is involved in terms of that gap? The smallest step, what can we do this week? And this is, we want to keep it tiny, we want to keep it small, that can contribute to the bigger picture, right? Yeah, smaller step. And then what is the blockers, what could stop you from actually getting that improvement that you want? And then how do we measure this entire process, if it was successful or if it was not successful? And then, so the next steps after, what's the follow on, next move? Yeah, so what's your next move after that, basically? So this is the improvement planning canvas, right? So that's the 8 steps we'll take. And then, before we dive into the improvement planning canvas, I want us to also look at the priority matrix, right? So so the priority matrix is, you'll see in our tool two, which which I've shared with you on WhatsApp. Just get it. Yeah. So 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 how to use this one is where we list five actions, right? We rate each of them high, medium, or low. We rate each on impact and effort, high, medium, and low. So you'll see effort is uh, your x-axis, and your y-axis is your impact. So going vertical is impact, going horizontal is our effort. Right to the left is low effort. To the right is high effort. At the bottom is low impact. At the top is high impact. So major projects is high effort, high impact, right? Um, avoid or drop is high effort, low impact. That's what we want to avoid and drop. Fill ins is low effort, low impact, right? Then quick wins is low effort, high impact. And this is what we want to where we want to be in this week, right? We want quick wins, low effort, but gives us high impact. Yeah. So this is basically your priority matrix. So what we're going to do with this is your gaps. We're gonna plot them in here, and then what you'll do is you'll pick your top three quick wins, plus your major projects, meaning your high effort, high impact. What is high effort? What is high impact on your project? What is low effort and high impact? So that's what we want to see on our priority matrix. All right. What we will do is give you guys some time now to then complete your improvement plan in Canvas, where you are able to identify that gap, and follow these 8 steps. Yeah. After this, we I will be having the one-on-one sessions with you guys in your respective work break rooms, and then we are able to complete the tool two, focused on your prototype. And then after that, we will then just have an open discussion on some generic frameworks, and then we'll close our session after that. So yeah, I'll give you guys some time to start with the improvement planning canvas. Any questions? If not, then you have some time to complete the improvement planning canvas. What I'll do is I'll give about 10 minutes, let's say 15 minutes, 20 past 11, then we'll continue. Yeah. So 3 minutes left, and then we'll continue the session. Okay, so mm, we've given everyone enough time. So we are continuing. Yeah, so like I said, the improvement planning canvas. This is one gap that you must identify and follow those 8 steps, and then also try to complete the Then also try to complete um, the priority matrix, and then also um, yeah. Um, then we have the open discussion. Yeah. So here in the open discussion in terms of generic frameworks, um, yeah, yeah, I want you guys to be able to ask me anything, even with the video being posted on WhatsApp. You guys are still able to ask me regarding the different frameworks and things. Pardon. Yeah, so you can contact me privately, and then we can have these discussions. What will happen also after the session is we'll have another session tomorrow. But then after tomorrow's group session, uh, what we will then do is organize one-on-one sessions again, where we are able to now go in detail on the work you've done so far, and then w- what do we still need to get done. Then, yeah. So on the generic frameworks, here I have three columns where we just how to choose your priorities, and then what good evidence looks like, and then common traps that we must identify from our side. So how do we choose the priorities? We must measure impact over effort. Go back to our priority matrix. So we impact over effort, right? So we want high impact, low effort. We want quick wins. That's what we want. What unblocks the next decision, right? So those are questions you ask yourself. Don't pick the hardest one. Pick the one that lets you move forward, right? So you don't want to go choose the biggest problem or gap that you have. You want to choose one that shows we are progressing, we are going somewhere. Because the challenge we do now and then is we go choose that hardest one. I want to build this machine or this app, whereas that is necessarily not yet where we need to be, if you are not a coder or a maker, or engineer in that sense, right? So don't go choose that tasks for you to measure your success currently, right? Go choose a task that lets you move forward, that is much more smaller, that breaks down everything, so that when you get to that stage, you're already done majority of the other work. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at. And then what good evidence looks like. Here you must look at what is the state before, what we're trying to measure the impact after. You're also looking at, is it better to have a third party or a named user? in terms of having that feedback or inputs. Then you, you you're looking at, is there a repeatable method or is it once off? But those are the things that you're trying to look at. Before, after, third party or named user repeatable method in terms of what is good evidence, right? Does that look like? Yeah, I tried it and it worked is the antidote, not the evidence, right? Antidote, not the evidence. So, so yeah, you need the data to back your facts up. In terms of the common threads, yeah, the traps that we usually fall into is building more instead of testing what is working and what's not working. Talking to your supporters and not your buyers, right? Also making vague success definitions. Going back to that evidence, what does that look like? What does your measurability, credibility look like, right? That's that vague success definitions. And then there's no baseline measurement. Where are we starting? What is the current state of this problem we're trying to solve, right? Default to smaller, measurable, and faster. That's usually what we do there. So so this is a generic framework, right? Another framework we like using, or methodology, is called the design thinking framework. Now, here, this is one of the key things that we also use. Let me just get this process up and running. So, view this image and then share the tab. So, so the design thinking process and steps. So this is one of the key things we also use in terms of frameworks, right? It's a 5-step process. It starts with empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and it ends with test. But this is a continuous framework. So after you testing, then you start again empathizing. You go define what's the problem again. Then you ideate the solution on that problem that you've defined for the user that you've empathized for, right? And then after you've ideated in terms of what solution we can come up with, then we prototype. Then we test it out in the field. We get feedback, and we go back. We empathize again with the user, understand, does that work? Did it work or not? Um, does it solve the problem? Then we ideate again, see if we need a better solution. We prototype the better solution we came up with. We test the new one. Then we go back. We put ourselves in the user or customer's shoes. We empathize again. So you see that circle of how do we do design thinking. So we by design we already thinking of the user in the process of developing the product, and we are not just assuming, right? Like, remember the three themes that we've identified. So this is exactly what design thinking also helps it helps us with that user or customer demand evidence, because why we have to continuously put ourselves in the shoes of the customer. We have to continuously get feedback from the customer. Is this working? How much are you going to pay for this? And all of those feedback and evidence then helps us to go and define that problem that we're trying to solve, and then ideate in terms of what solution we can come up with, and then prototype that ideas that we came up with, and then test them out. So this is the steps that we usually take, and the framework we try to use, and wrap our minds around those 5 steps: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. Right? And you see, we before we also go to the the building of the prototype, there's 3 steps that we have to cover first in this. And before we even get to the solution or the problem, we have to sit down and understand who is our customer, who is our user, so that when we are prototyping and testing, that we don't build unnecessary things, right? Because and we don't spend unnecessary resources on on your prototype and testing when you're trying to do that. So planning is key. Then moving forward, uh, so each one of you can basically, what you can do is share uh, a video of your prototype, or a link where people can give feedback, and try to share it with family, friends, specifically buyers, users of your platform, not necessarily supporters, right? To try and give out you feedback on what we're trying to build, and that's how we then try to get that of theme 1, the evidence of user and customer demand, and then also you're trying to build a baseline with that survey, in terms of how what is the current state and what would changes be if the system is introduced or prototype is introduced. So um, yeah. So if you have IP issues, you don't have to share your prototype or IP or the method you're using. Just uh, a quick survey, getting some feedback from potential buyers or users. Then um, before we close, there's four things. Please sign your canvas, and then take a photo, DM it or send it to me via email or via WhatsApp. Um, yeah, and then whatever priority one is, do the smallest step this week, so that we can start. You can start seeing what is how success is looking like after doing that step. Then don't forget about tomorrow's session. Um, Same time, around 10 o'clock. Yeah, I'll be available from 9 o'clock. Tomorrow's session we'll do 2 3, where we are going to cover the pilot readiness assessment. So I think you guys don't forget to WhatsApp your signed canvases, the priority matrix, and improvement planning canvas. Yeah, I say thank you. Any questions?
I just want to know, can you please send me tool one because my WhatsApp wiped, so I don't have it. Yes, I can hear you. Uh, no, I don't. I just want you to send me tool one, please, because I don't have it. My WhatsApp, yeah, it wiped, so I don't have it. And then I'll work on that on WhatsApp. Okay, okay, no problem. Thank you. Bye bye. You too. Bye bye.